and I think people need to understand this. We're in I wouldn't say the early stages, but the early-ish middle stage of watching the greatest quarterback of all time. That's going to be Mahomes. Now, you can sit here and you can throw all the stats at me. Well, Brady's got this, and I get it. I understand. When I look at, that signature symbolic anointment of somebody, what are the things ultimately you incorporate? One, stats. Obviously, you got to have the numbers, and of course, Mahomes does, and he will. You've got to have great individual success, and you've got to have great team success. And the thing that Brady did, to our amazement, a lot of it was Belichick as well, but they won when they really weren't supposed to. Like, they won when, it had a good defense, all right, possessed the ball, all right. They're not a superstar team, but they're winning. And Mahomes showed us this side of him, which I don't know that we thought that he necessarily had. Mahomes for years comes out, runs around, throws missiles, throws lasers, makes sick acrobatic plays off script, right? The shovels, the no-looks, uses his feet, and annihilates people on the scoreboard. This version showed a grit that I always thought that he had, but now it's proven that he does. Now, he's got more to go, understood, but it's all said and done.
Oh, a lot more to go.
Yeah, I understand that. We're watching the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that the Chiefs weren't going to win because of Mahomes, but because of the way they played, the receivers all year long, been messing around. Rice has now turned into a legit player for him, so that's going to help out. Obviously, he looks, yesterday he's throwing the ball to Kelsey all over. They looked like the old Chiefs, and they did it on the road against the team. I mean, look, the Bills are just losers, so we know that, but they did it against a team they've had that rivalry with, and this is the first time the Bills were supposed to win the game, even as 2.5, 3-point favorites, whatever it was, and Mahomes in his first playoff game on the road, he goes out there and impresses. I'm not going to put him on the level of Brady, and I don't think when all's said and done, I don't want to knock Patrick Mahomes here, but I never felt like I understand his greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I've also felt like it was a product of not what even was around him, but first and foremost with Andy Reid and the system that Reid built, and then maybe a weaker AFC West and winning all those divisions and being in a prime spot, always being at home in the postseason. I don't know. I'm not trying to dismiss what Mahomes has done. Obviously, he's one of the great quarterbacks already. I mean, he's already one of the great quarterbacks of all time. You're saying when all's said and done, he'll be the greatest, and he certainly is on that, track to be that. I'm not there yet with Mahomes. And look, if he goes out there and wins another Super Bowl now, look at what he's done already with the AFC Championship games. I get it. I don't think I could say that he's going to be greater than Tom Brady, even though his athleticism may be better than Brady.
Yep.
Still, pound for pound, I'll side with Brady. And even, I think Aaron Rodgers, he wasn't as much of a winner as Mahomes, but I still think he was a better quarterback to me.
Okay, I got to you. The thing about Brady, and we forget this because over time, some of the context, Matt, kind of, I guess, it just fades away a little bit. But it shouldn't for us because, those who are Jet fans understand. The thing, you mentioned the AFC West. Tom Brady had the easiest run to a first-round bye than any great quarterback in the history of football. I remember doing this once, and I've got it on a notepad somewhere in my office at home, where I literally went through the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins. Not this iteration of Buffalo, who I know choked, but is obviously very talented. The Bills team that had J.P. Lossman, Ryan Fitzpatrick, all the GMs, all the failed coaches, E.J. Manuel, who was a first-round pick, 16th overall back in the day. And then, of course, knowing it intimately, the Jet stuff, and I don't even need to recite it because everybody knows, but then even the Dolphin stuff with all their quarterbacks and all their coaches and all their failed draft choices. Like Tom Brady showed up, and with his eyes shut, you could pencil in, 5 out of 6 divisional wins every year, 12 to 13 minimally wins overall, first round bye. You win one home game, you're playing for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to penalize him, but that is the perspective that's necessary. Now, I
also did it against Peyton Manning, though, in the postseason.
Listen, that's the adversary. Sure, that's the adversary that
Josh Allen is not Peyton Manning. Like, Josh Allen's great, but he's not as accomplished as Manning was, so you have that rivalry as well.
It's a good point. I'm not saying that he is, and that matters as well. It's funny, though, because Tom Brady played 23 years in the NFL, and the numbers are the numbers, and the 7 Super Bowl championships. But when you play, and I know that there's an element of subjectivity to the voting. I get that. It's not pure numbers driven. But when you play 23 years and you're only 3 times All-Pro.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to denigrate Brady as much as I am trying to elevate Mahomes where he belongs.
Well, I also think there are different ways to have the argument because in my mind, like Brady is the greatest winner. And it just got to a point where, dude, you won 7 Super Bowls. Like, even me, who never thought he was the greatest quarterback that I've ever seen, how could you argue with 7 Super Bowls? For me, the best pure quarterback I've ever seen as far as playing the position, making the right reads, making the proper throws, all the different throws, was Peyton Manning. He was the best pure quarterback that I've ever seen. The most athletic prior to Mahomes, I would say, was Aaron Rodgers. Now, Mahomes is putting that combination of athleticism and winning together to a level that Rodgers never did, so maybe he takes over those reins. But to say that he's the greatest ever, like this is, I loved what you said before about where you really start to separate yourself is the games that you win that you're not supposed to.
Yep.
And this is the first time, think about it, the first time in Mahomes' career that he's been on the road. Like, when does that ever happen? Usually the young guys, they start out getting these games on the road and then build their way up.
Like Stroud.
Right, he's gone the other. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then one day, maybe he'll be hosting an AFC championship game or a division round, whatever. So Mahomes had it backwards, where the Chiefs were good with Smith. He obviously took him to another level, but was always playing from in front. And yesterday's win was obviously impressive on many different levels, but I need to see a lot more of those.
Yeah.
Like, finish it off. I don't think they're going to beat Baltimore. I mean, I've been going against them now. I can't flip on it. As much as the Chiefs have looked different and, obviously their pedigree, they're legit. Like, if you go beat Baltimore and go win another Super Bowl, I mean, geez, you might be able to anoint them right now. Forget about down the road.
Let me ask you this, Sal. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? Who do you think?
That I've ever seen?
Yeah, but
I mean,
also
I can't. It's hard to
incorporating
say Bill
history.
Russell. All right. I mean, I'd still probably say MJ.
Okay.
Me personally.
MJ, so do I. Who do you say is number 2? You go LeBron at this point?
Probably have to.
You probably have to, right?
I mean, I loved Kobe. I always said Kobe was the closest thing to MJ.
To Jordan, yeah. And I respect that, but I would put LeBron just based on the totality of his
hard
career.
to argue. He's been a beast.
I'd go MJ 1, I'd go LeBron 2. I only bring this up because the guy, and this is where the context matters, like, I've always said as a huge NBA fan that Kareem was the most overlooked, underappreciated superstar ever. You could make the case that Kareem was better than Michael Jordan.
Right.
Because he won 6 MVPs. He had the most indefensible shot in the history of the game. Couldn't even, I know it's college, but you couldn't dunk in college because of Kareem. They did not allow you to dunk. They actually made them stop dunking. Look at Bill Walton. Bill Walton had to lay it in after Kareem at UCLA. Anyway, 6 titles, 6 MVPs, the most points in NBA history for 35, 40 years. And again, the most indefensible shot in NBA history, maybe in any sporting sequence ever. Nobody could stop the skyhook. But yet, he is always overlooked. Now, I feel like that is one of 2 reasons. Number 1, people just don't know what they're watching. Or number 2, ageism. Not him, but when it happened, the glorification, it's different. And we're bombarded with go. And I love Brady. I love what he represents. I love his work ethic. The guy squeezed every drop of God-given talent, maybe more than anybody ever in the history of sports, and I respect that. But Mahomes, to me, if you want to start looking at this now, and I say to you, Sal, who's the better pure athlete? Who's the better, just overall, thrower, right? It's Mahomes. Nobody's going to dispute that. Nobody's going to dispute that. So then you've got to start getting to the numbers, right? And eventually we'll get there. But for me, I'm okay saying it now. If Mahomes replicates the next 6 years what he's done the first 6, he's going to have 450 touchdowns. By the age of 33, 34,
but the game has
Brady's
also
got
changed.
650.
Forget that, because the game has also changed.
Well, I understand
the
but
reason to me, and it does play the part, like, where you could say, who's the greatest quarterback? And some people say Elway or Marino, as far as being physically gifted, the way they threw the football. So it depends how you make the argument, but I think because of the amount that Brady won, all those other things, to me, will fall short unless you get to the amount of Super Bowls Brady got to. Mahomes has a chance, but think about what he'd have to do to get there. Dude, like, we're talking 7 Super Bowls. As great as Mahomes has been, I know he's very young still and has a long way to go, but That's a lot of winning he's got to do to catch up.
I know, Sal, and I think a lot of people are going to side with that ultimate barometer. I've never leaned on just, okay, and I know that every situation's different.
Right, because he's won as much, he's better.
I don't just lean on that. I watch Mahomes play, and I watch Brady play his entire career, and I sit there and I say, Mahomes is more talented. I don't know how anybody disputes that. Now you got to do the other stuff.
Well, because if I ask you who was the best pure thrower of the football that you've ever seen, you would say?
I would say probably Marino. Okay. Rodgers is there. Yeah, those are two that come to mind.
Not there. All right, how about the
not
best?
Peyton. Peyton's arm was weak.
Well, how about the best quarterback to ever break down and read a defense?
I would say probably Peyton. Okay. I think Brady's right there.
All right, yep. How about the most mobile, fastest quarterback that you've seen?
I would say Lamar's right there. I would say young Elway's right there. I didn't see Tarkenton, but I'm just throwing some names out there.
Right, and I haven't heard you say Mahomes yet. So if you're ranking it outside of the numbers, and then we go over the greatest physical attributes. Now he may be the best combo. All right, let's say he's top 3 or top 4 in the physical attributes and top 2 in winning. Yeah. Then the culmination.
That's a good point. That's a good point. If I go down and I say, all right, who's got, in terms of pure arm talent, fastball, placement,
Elway, Marino.
Yeah, but Mahomes is right there.
Yeah, okay.
He's got a rocket.
Right.
If I say, all right, what about clutch value? I mean, the guy's played 6 years. He's going to a 6th straight AFC championship game. Can't dispute that. What if I say the ability to improvise, which obviously more and more is important? Go off script. He might be number 1. Right. I mean, the side shovels, no looks. I mean, but guys are doing it now because he started doing it.
Then that's why I would take it down to winning, because the other stuff you can debate, and he might be as good, if not better, than others in certain regards.
Yeah, that's subjective a little bit. I got you on that.
And for now, he's only got the 2 Super Bowls. And we're talking about getting back to another championship game, which is great, sure. But dude, Brady won so much.
Yep.
That to me, that overtakes the skill set of the other quarterbacks who may have been superior in those areas.
We disagree fundamentally on that a little bit. Now, we can't do it now. I get these calls, obviously, Sal, 877-337-6666. I look at Brady's start, which was fairly innocuous, kind of along for the ride, possessed the Super Bowl. They wanted a field goal. They didn't put up a lot of points. Right. His numbers were pedestrian. When we were sitting here, and I know the answer, but I'll ask you, when we were sitting here and Tom Brady was 27, was there even a thought that he was even remotely one of the best quarterbacks of all time?
Probably not.
Not even close.
At 27?
Not even because it was the next year when they got Randy Moss when he threw 50 touchdowns.
Right, but
and he got the MVP.
We've also seen things sometimes go sideways, too. That's what I mean. There's a long way. If he did this for the next 10 years, he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. That's a major if. To be able to do what he's done for the next 10 years. BT and Sal on the Fan, our friends at Town Fair Tire. Remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Joe is calling from Long Island. What's up, Joe?
Hey, guys. Great show. Just wanted to call and make 3 quick points. Number 1, head-to-head matchup, Brady and Mahomes. Brady beat him in the NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game, on the way to the Super Bowl. Then they faced each other 2 years later, head-to-head in the Super Bowl. Brady won that matchup. And also, another quick point, Brady is the system, as you can see by it transferring over to Tampa Bay. Mahomes is in a system. I think that's the difference between the two.
No. Mahomes,
it's fair.
I mean, those first 2 points, thank you. Mahomes is in a system. I mean, you drop Mahomes anywhere.
Right, but he is a byproduct of Andy Reid.
Brady's not a byproduct of Belichick? I know he won without him. I get it.
No, I think he is.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying he also did prove that he went somewhere else and won. Is there going to be a point in Mahomes' career where Reid is retired, the Chiefs are saying, hey, we're not going to bring you back anymore, and he goes to, whatever, the Seahawks and wins a Super Bowl?
Come to the Jets. We'll take it.
Yeah. Well, at that point, who knows?
We'll get Mahomes when he's on his last leg. Get hurt.
That's why these conversations, they're fun to have. But it's also
I understand that.
If Mahomes got drafted by the Jets or Giants,
would they have ruined them?
Well, would he be having the same career right now? Throw Lamar Jackson in it.
Probably not because of the offensive line. I understand. No, I'm certainly going to grant you that. That matters, no doubt.
Now, what I will say about Mahomes, and this is similar to Brady, first of all, Mahomes has had more to work with as far as weaponry goes. Okay?
Yeah.
But what I will say,
not this year, though.
Brady made receivers better. didn't matter who came in, and when he was winning with guys that you never heard of.
Deion
before.
Branch,
Yeah, right? Exactly. Outside of Randy
Mm.
Moss in the undefeated year where they lost the Super Bowl.
Did
to
have
the
one of the
Giants,
best tight ends of all time.
Understood, but so does Mahomes.
Yeah, I get
And
you.
Mahomes also had Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Now the thing is, Mahomes has won after those guys have left, which is
That's why yesterday was
like,
important. And he's not done. Like, I look at Mahomes, right? If Patrick Mahomes was a baseball player, he'd be a 5-tool player. If Mahomes was a golfer, he'd stripe at 320. He'd have soft hands around the green. He'd be a clutch putter. He'd be sick with the mids. He'd be able to scramble. If he was a basketball player, he'd be a two-way guy. Like, he has he's got the brain, he's got the arm, he's got the feet, he's got the anticipatory nature, he's got the instincts, which kind of goes in with that anticipation. Brady doesn't. Now, you want to tell me Brady might have a little more in one or two columns? I'm going to grant you that. But when you go through the conveyor belt, the assembly line of quarterbacks, Mahomes got stamped with everything.
Understood, but Brady's got 7 Super Bowl wins.
Okay.
Like, you think when all's said and done, Mahomes is going to get to that number?
See, that he doesn't need to for me. That's what I delineate.
So how many more do you think he's going to win? 3?
I don't know, but all I know is if he plays in 12 conference championship games, I mean, it's...
All right, but if he wins...
And he's got the stats, which he will.
So what if we thought in 2010, Aaron Rodgers, at least I thought, was going to win a lot more than just the one.
Yep.
And he didn't. So let's say Mahomes ends at 2 or 3 Super Bowls.
But he's already got more than Rodgers, so it's a tough comparison.
No.
I mean, if Rodgers had...
I'm talking about with Brady, though.
No, I got you, but
like what number... You're saying he's going to be. You're not saying right now. You're saying he's going to be. What number?
I don't have a number. It's just optics. It's watching him play and the elevation of his franchise. I mean, the number would be nice. It would stamp it. I'm certainly going to give you that. But it's beyond that. It's just he's unbelievable.
Rick is calling from Tampa. What's up, Rick?
Special.
Hey, happy Monday, guys. Unless you're a Bills fan, happy Monday. All right.
Hello, Rick.
Losers.
I know. Hey, listen. First, Sal, I agree with you 100% on just regarding Brady as just a winner. He's obviously he's greater in that sense, but Pat Mahomes, and I go back to Marino. I love Marino as the greatest passer, quarterback, and everything on a bad team a lot of times. But Pat Mahomes has reinvented the style in these last 5 or 6 years of a quarterback. And you look at the young quarterbacks coming out, they all want to emulate this little side throw, and all these things are different. No one really did it like that before. Did you see the move he put on when he got the open on that Bills quarterback? He's still faking to throw the ball. The guy went totally the other way. He's changed that. So I think on talent and everything, he is better than Brady.
He's an innovator, Rick. I mean, again, Brady was sturdy and brilliant and amazing, but he was also from the more conventional school, which is obviously incredibly effective. The man won 7 championships. But nobody, that's a good point, who's emulating Brady outside of trying to emulate and replicate the ultimate success?
Right.
I don't know, do you drop back? And not that this matters, but it's an interesting point that, doesn't ultimately matter, but it could influence decision. Like, you're in the schoolyard or you're in your street, like, we would say when we would do this. We'd drive to the room. We'd say, Jordan, you jump, you did this, man. You jump in the air, you hang, you double pump. Me, I was 3 inches off the ground. But who's saying Brady?
Right.
But you are saying Mahomes.
No, I know.
I mean, that's important.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people did that with Michael Vick. How'd that work out?
Well, I mean, if he didn't get himself in trouble, it may have worked out a whole hell of a lot better.
He never went to a Super Bowl. So I'm just saying, like, the athleticism and having kids look up to you and emulate you, to me, that doesn't do anything. I just think that Brady is so far the greatest winner that he'll never be caught, that it's going to be hard to knock him off that pedestal. Athleticism, obviously. I mean, I could list 10 quarterbers that are greater than Tom Brady as far as
Zach is more athletic. Honestly,
I don't know if he would be one I would list.
The ultimate thing for me is I know we got a break, and listen, if it's like, hey, let's drop the mic, if you're saying, Brady's got 7 and Mahomes will never get there, and even if, let's say.
But he could.
No, I know, but let's say 20 years from now, he's not there. I would say he doesn't need to get this. That's the thing.
Because of his athleticism.
And he's going to have the stats. The guy wins. He elevates. He's the man. We're middle stage, watching the greatest of all time.